All those markets are ready to operate, have been inspected by our staff and approved. There are 31 A-licensed buyers and 44 contractors, again, all of whom are licensed by the TIMB to operate. The crop has done significantly well since the rains came beginning of January, and we are expecting a very large crop. Our second estimate is for 280 million kilos, and our staff are ready with the third estimate, which we are sure will be higher. We are reluctant to promise too much, but the possibility of a 300 million kilo crop exists. Our competitors in Brazil and India have both grown large crops this year, which may have some impact on the price, which I'm sure everyone is aware was very good last year. But as I have said many times, Zimbabwean tobacco is now globally acknowledged as the finest smoking leaf in the world. So the forecast is for a buoyant selling season and a large crop.
Okay, you can proceed to the next.
The next question, Chairman, a little bit confusing. I think you may have been given some misinformation. What the rules say is that if a grower is contracted to a contractor, he is obliged under the rules to sell all his tobacco to that contractor. However, an independent grower, of which there are more and more, is perfectly entitled to sell at auction or to a contractor of his choice. So we do not see any problems there at all. As TIMB, our job in participating in the selection of a new chief executive is through our HR committee, Human Resources Committee, which is chaired by General Rugeje. Our job is to identify a number of shortlisted candidates, which we then forward to the Minister of Agriculture, who then peruses those and makes his selection and then takes it to the President, who makes his choice. As a board, we have done our work in terms of identifying the correct organization to help us find these people. And we are in the final stages of doing this now for the third time, of making a shortlist, which we will forward to our Minister. I think General Rugeje may like to add something to that.
No, before I'm sure what exactly could stop that process of appointing the CEO?
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, government have their major development plans for 2030, etc., and one of them is the value addition in the tobacco crop, of which we were down at about 2 or 3%. Thanks to the introduction or the building of new cigarette factories, we are now on about 7%, and there are several new companies coming in looking at nicotine extraction, vaping products, etc. So that has changed the nature of the industry, and the message we have received from the Minister, and I think he got that from our President, is that we need a type of person who is very well versed in the global tobacco business, who understands the global trade, who has communication with the big manufacturers, both in China, the Middle East, and the West, and who knows where this industry is going. And the search for that individual has been a vexing one. We're looking for a very special person, and it has been very difficult, Chairman. So I think that is why the candidates that we have recommended have not been accepted by our leadership.
Mr. Davis, my understanding that at one point you had in fact approved the appointment of Dr. Gar. And I believe you had even approved the salary of 25,000 a month, which was later on turned down by OPC. Is that correct?
We are not able to approve anyone. We have recommended people to the minister. I'm not at liberty to say how many. There are several names that have been recommended, and Dr. Gawe may or may not have been one of them. But yeah, I think that's my answer.
Mr. Davis, are you an executive chairman or a board chair?
I am a non-executive chairman.
And then if you are an executive chairman, my understanding is you're involved in day-to-day running of TIMB. You even have an office there where you go for work every day.
Nothing could be further from the truth, Chairman. I'm a non-executive chairman. There is a chairman's office, which I use on very rare occasions. Most of our meetings are held in the boardroom, and I go straight to the boardroom. I do not go to TIMB every day, and I think the registers of our meetings would show that.
My last one to you, Chairman. Tobacco industry has been a success story for the past 3 years. What do you attribute to this success?
There are many factors that I attribute to that success, and I think the first body that requires recognition is the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development. They have provided superb leadership to the tobacco industry in our particular case. The introduction, well, the contracting system has been around for a long time, but it's growing stronger and stronger, and that has allowed the development of the smallholder sector. I think the success of the industry is in a huge way due to the success of the smallholder farmer. The smallholder farmer, his yields have gone up significantly. The quality of tobacco he produces has gone up significantly. It's created a whole new beginnings of a middle class in the rural areas. It makes our tobacco more desirable because we are looking after smallholder farmers, which I personally believe is the future of the African continent, making smallholder farmers successful. So I think that is a very big factor. The recognition at last, after many decades, from the global cigarette and other tobacco products manufacturing market, that Zimbabwe is indeed the best producer of smoking leaf in the world, I think has made a huge difference. TIMB has a very strong and dedicated staff who have done outstanding work, very often under difficult conditions. I'll talk about things like side marketing and other issues. We have a very strong board, which is well balanced between females and males. I think that has assisted. So I think going right through, board, management, staff, ministry, government have all supported and contributed to the success of this industry. Did you ask how I rate him?
I said, how do you rate your acting CEO?
He has done a very good job. He is technically very sound, and his knowledge of the industry and his network, most importantly, is growing. He has done a good job and has impressed the board with his performance.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman, for allowing me to give a supplementary report, particularly on the recruitment of the CEO. A lot has been said by the chairman, but I feel it is important for you as the chairman and the committee to fully understand the process through which we have gone in our endeavor to try and recruit the best candidate for the position. Since the departure of the last substantive CEO, as the HR committee, we have engaged 3 consultants to try and identify prospective candidates to fill in the position within the time limit. As you are aware that in terms of corporate governance, if a post falls vacant, then we are required to make sure that that post is filled within the period of 6 months. In the event that it doesn't get filled, naturally people feel that you are comfortable with the current acting person, and therefore that acting person should be duly substantiated. The first recruitment that we did was through the industrial psychology consultants, and that was way back some 1.5 years ago. And we came up with 3 prospective candidates, ranked in their order of the marks that they scored during our interviews, both psychometric tests and verbal interviews. We've submitted these names to the minister, and sadly, they were not accepted. But in our interviews, in our ranking, we had 3 candidates that scored to our satisfaction. Then that was put aside. We were redirected to conduct another recruitment exercise, which we did. And this time around, there was a directive that we should look at potential candidates who had 2 professional criteria. The first was one with the financial background, and secondly, the other requirement was that that person has been in the industry for a considerable period of time. This criteria became a real problem for us because we could not easily secure someone who had those qualifications in one person. However, we proceeded with the recruitment, and this time around we managed to initially look at 2 candidates who had submitted their applications. The good news, they were women, they're very capable, very experienced in the industry. We interviewed them, we passed, and we submitted the names to the parent ministry for further processing, because the buck stops with the minister as far as recruitment is concerned. There's a general perception that our board is not appointing a substantive CEO. It's beyond our scope. We can't do that. We only engage ourselves in the process of identifying, and once we've shortlisted people, we then submit that to the ministry, parent ministry, who will then further forward the information to OPC and then for further vetting until that person is appointed by His Excellency. So the second process went on very well. The 2 women, very capable, very experienced, and who had been in the industry for a long time. For whatever reasons, none of them was appointed. And then the information came back to us that no, we are advertised, which we did early this year. And I think if you recall, we made some adverts a couple of weeks ago, And last week on Thursday, we actually received a preliminary report from the Global Tech Human Resources Corporation, whom we engaged to do the recruitment on our behalf. And the indications are that there are candidates who may meet the criteria, and they are currently going under psychometric tests. And we hope that before the end of the week, we should be able to convene as an HR committee to look at the shortlisted 5 candidates whom we are going to verbally interview and then come up with our own recommendations. And I want the committee to understand, we are not trying to absolve ourselves as an HR committee or as TIMB, but we have been trying our level best to make sure that we have a substantive candidate for the position of the CEO, considering the importance of the industry to the nation. We have a very large foreign currency area for these countries. That is not the matter. So, with that in mind, I also want to further support the chairman and say, look, over the years, TIMB has seen an upward trend in terms of growth. If you look at the statistics of figures of our production, it shows that we are actually on an upward trend. The industry is growing, which takes me back to say, okay, fine. The current acting CEO, who has been described by the chairman as committed, has actually overseen 2.5 years of this exponential growth. And he has submitted his CV for consideration for this post. I don't know how he's going to fare, but prior to that, he had submitted and he had passed. So I want the committee to fully understand the history behind this issue of the acting CEO and the reasons why the board has not been able to fill in the post of the substantive CEO because of the other reasons that I've already highlighted. I submit.
As you have indicated, General Gage, that you have got an acting CEO who have acted for 2.5 years, and while the ladder of development is going up, meaning that is capable, and I don't know why your board could fail to give someone the job who have proved beyond reasonable doubt that he is capable. And anyway, I think we heard what we are saying, and we can safely say, I think we will take it up with the ministry, as you have indicated. And how honestly, Chairman, honestly, how do you feel if you are in an active position for 2.5 years, being very successful, and then just because the board doesn't have the powers to appoint you, there is someone else who will say to the board, no, the names you have given us, there's no one we want. I think this is bad governance. I thank you.
Say that we're talking about the issue with the CEO. Rumor has it, okay, we don't usually deal with rumors, but there was talk of the relationship between the board chairman and the CEO. Maybe I've got a supplementary from that, so maybe I'll just ask the board chairman response how he relates with the CEO. Is there any bad blood between the two of you?
On the contrary, through you, Honourable Chair, we have worked very well together. I have mentored him. I have many years' experience. I've run 3 public companies in this country. I've mentored him and coached him and tried to help him develop. There's no bad blood between us. We meet regularly. Yeah.
Okay. My supplementary, Honourable Chairman, as you're aware, we, as the committee, travelled to Stormhatch, where we went to see some of the successful programs being conducted by TIMB. Our expectation, we saw the board there, but we did not see the chairman. And it's something we thought was cause for concern, considering that this is the committee that has oversight over the ministry and all its parastatals. And then also in that process, you then hear also that at some point it was alleged that the board chairman did say at some point to his board members that, what can I say, instigating things against the CEO in such a way to say that you would not recommend that the CEO must not retain this position. Is this true? And maybe you can also explain why you did not consider our trip to Stormwater as important to attend.
Thank you, Chair. We have many engagements as the TIMB. I have my own business in life, and on that particular day I was unable to make it. Once again, you can check the records of all the functions. I attend virtually every function. I was unavailable that day, and I can't be everywhere at once. I've been to Stomahacha on several occasions. I have worked with Boost Tobacco. That is the company that contracts Stomahacha. So I just can't attend every single function, Chair.
Question or questions to the chairperson is that I would want to know when was the last time you visited TIMB offices. I asked this because we had information that you had issues to do with the courts regarding some fraud allegations, around I think $539,000 a loan that you allegedly took from TIMB, and part of the bail conditions restrict you from visiting TIMB offices. And are you still visiting TIMB's offices? And if you are doing so, why would you do that? Then the second part of the question is that we understand that you are also a chairperson of First Capital. And there is some conflict of interest because you are also a chairperson of TIMB at the same time chairperson of First Capital. And we know that First Capital is always contracted to do transactions on behalf of TIMB. So in terms of good corporate governance, it's not allowed. So I would want you to give a comment. Then lastly, in terms of the Zimbabwean law, the Labour Act, if a person works in an acting capacity for a period exceeding 6 months, that person automatically is deemed permanent. Why is it the CEO is being exempted from that? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure I got all the questions. The first one went last was I at TIMB. I was there last week, I think, was it Tuesday, General? Thursday, at an HR committee. The conditions of my bail, which have subsequently been relaxed, was that I report to Borrowdale Police Station every 2 weeks. That was subsequently relaxed. I was told not to interfere with witnesses, but that does not prevent me from fulfilling my duties as chairman of the board. I have been very careful in any conversations I've had with any members of management about to make sure that I do not talk about this case. What was the third question, Chair?
Okay. The third question was
the bank.
Yeah, the First Capital Bank.
Yes.
Are you a chairperson of that?
Yes, I'm chairman of First Capital Bank. I'm sure you're aware that before anyone can be appointed either to the board or as chairman of a bank, that goes to the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe for approval. When that goes to the bank, you have to fill out all your directorships, all other relationships you have, and the RBZ then approves it, which was subsequently done.
I think it will add on what the honorable member is asking. There's an issue of conflict of interest. Can you touch on that conflict of interest part?
I can't see where you see conflict of interest, Honourable. We, as a bank, do lend small amounts of money to some tobacco contractors. We do not lend money to farmers in any large way. And I think if there was a conflict of interest, the Reserve Bank would have brought that to our attention.
Honorable Chair.
I think this is not about the Reserve Bank.
No,
Honorable Chair.
Okay, you can proceed.
Okay, just confirm if First Capital is involved in any financial transactions with TIMB, since you are a chairperson of both entities. And secondly, you state that your bail conditions were relaxed. Is it possible that you also give the committee a copy of the bail conditions so that we know? Because we are aware that you are not allowed or permitted to be visiting TIMB offices as you did last week.
Before you answer, I think there is another supplementary from order. You can proceed.
Yeah, I will find my bail conditions. Generally, those bail conditions are given verbally, but I do have the document that shows the bail amount, which was $500. As far as transactions with First Capital Bank, between First Capital Bank and TIMB, I'm not aware of any. I am not even sure that TIMB has a bank account with First Capital. They may do, but I can't be sure. I don't think that there is anything between them, but I would have to check.
Another supplementary.
Honorable Chair.
Can I answer the question about the 6 months?
You can proceed another, the 6 month one.
Oh, which came first? I think this was a while ago, but I think I was chairman of TIMB before I became chairman of First Capital Bank. I would have to check my records on that.
Okay. There's a supplementary which Honorable Torres asked about.
Okay.
What were you saying?
About
Can you proceed?
About reference to the Labour Act, the 6 months acting period for the CEO. And as you respond to that, when you report at the police station within the 2 weeks period, there is a receipt that you are given at the court when you paid your $500 bill. And on that receipt, they actually write the bail conditions. So it will be easy for you to give us a copy of that receipt. But I want you to respond specifically on the 6 month period, which is really enunciated in the Labour Act.
I think as both myself and the General have said, we are not empowered to make the final decision as to who the Chief Executive is. We have worked very hard. It has been onerous for us as directors not to have a substantive Chief Executive, but it's not within our ambit to appoint.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the ministry wrote to you rejecting all those candidates. And if you have said you understand the 6 months according to Corporate Governance Act, and you written to them to say this gentleman we have now have been doing well for the past 2.5 years, and we want to confirm him as the minister, and the minister refused. If you have that, can you provide this committee with all that information?
Chairman, we will look and see if that information was provided in the form of a letter or whether it was verbal.
Chairman, I think you need to take this committee very seriously. I haven't given you a word to respond. I don't know why you want to exchange words with me. I'm the chairman here. You are chairman, TIMB.
Yes.
I'm the chairman here. You have to listen what I say. Honestly, and the minister regarding to the issue we have discussed with you here. And we expect you to give us that information before the end of the week.
Yes.
I thank you.
Actually, I think I conclude that I think the chairman of TIMB is not taking this committee very seriously. Yes. And the way he is responding to our answers, which need clear responses, it seems like he's just brushing it aside. There's no way you will know that you employed a chairman of TIMB first or not. So such information is very important because it will help this committee to actually interrogate the challenges that we are having with the tobacco industry. So, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, you should cross-check information which is not sure from his colleagues and give us a response today so that we can be able to get proper information from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Honourable Chairman. I joined First Capital Bank Board on the 26th of April 2018. I'm still waiting to get the date that I became chairman, because I was a board member initially and then became chair. And I'm still waiting for the date that I was appointed by the late Parent Shiri, Minister of Agriculture, to the TIMB board. As far as my bail conditions are concerned, you reminded me, I took that piece of paper to Borrowdale Police Station that's got all the conditions on, so I can get that back.
No, thank you very much.
Issues with paper was not correct. I just want to make a confirmation of that from him, given that he's saying it's written on the bill paper. I want that confirmation.
My initial bail conditions were written on the piece of paper. Subsequently, the conditions were relaxed. I never received a notification on a piece of paper. The magistrate simply said, your bail conditions are now relaxed. I never received a document for that. I'm sure there's a document at the Magistrates Court on Rottenborough.
No, I think it's okay.
My question, I didn't get your response regarding the issue of the fraud charges that you are facing, which has a lot to do with TIMB, which involves $500,000 United States dollars. What is your comment and what were the circumstances surrounding that loan that you took, that loaning cost that you took from TIMB?
Thanks, Honourable Chair. I'm not absolutely certain that I'm at liberty to discuss this because the matter is still before the court. I don't know if anyone can advise me on that.
No, I think you're correct. We cannot discuss that.
Appear to be marginalized in the tobacco value chain. What are you doing to promote indigenous companies? 90%, 95% of tobacco is coming from indigenous farmers.
Your mic, please.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I think I'm on record in many fora of doing my level best to promote indigenous companies. I can refer you to Ethical Leaf Tobacco, which is now known as Ethical Leaf Holdings, which is owned and run by David Mchingidzi. Him and I worked very closely together. I appointed him when I left Tobacco Sales Floor as the managing director to succeed me. And there are other instances where I've done my level best to ensure that this tobacco crop is handled by as many indigenous merchants as possible. The main reason being we want the tobacco crop to be funded by local banks. At this time, the balance sheets are not big enough, but as the banks get bigger, I'm sure more and more local companies will be buying and processing tobacco.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think there's a follow-up question. Why do you call these indigenous companies surrogate companies?
So surrogate companies are companies who contract smallholder farmers to grow tobacco, which they then sell to other merchants.
There is a general opinion that the same grade of tobacco to some farmers are lower than the prices paid to the high-income farmers. And they also take comment.
That's a very difficult question to answer because people would argue that there's different grades of tobacco. But by and large, I think surrogate companies are making good business. So I really can't say that they were paid X. But obviously, the merchant company that buys from the surrogate has to now process that tobacco and export it. And there's costs associated with that.
Value addition coming back to Zimbabwe after exports?
The number, I think, of the amount of tobacco value added is currently stands at 7%. It would be very difficult to put that into a dollar figure because the value of cigarettes is many, many multiples higher than the value of raw tobacco.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I will take you back on corporate governance. What's the position concerning the property of an entity like TIMB? Do board members have liberty or freedom to use the property of TIMB?
I think it depends on what property you're talking about. We're all issued gadgets, cell phones, tablets, computers.
What about vehicles?
Generally, we don't use vehicles. I did use a TIMB vehicle quite a few years ago when I went to a funeral of one of our board members and I hit a cow on the way home. I was without a vehicle and I was allowed to use that vehicle while my car was in for repair.
Who allowed you?
I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I said to the board, could I use this vehicle because I only have one vehicle.
Supplementary. Yeah, I just wanted to know that in terms of proper corporate governance, was it proper?
As far as I'm aware, Chair, yes. Chair, I work very well with as many and all tobacco companies.
No. Chairman, Mr. David, we are talking of not, we understand that as the chairman, you work with a lot of companies, but we've got a specific company we are talking about here, which you have indicated earlier on that you worked very well with them, and all of a sudden, another person is coming in and you are distancing yourself from knowing them, you are not part and parcel. You know, that's not right. We are saying, remember, you are under oath.
Chair, I work as well with Boost as I do with other companies. I've been in the tobacco industry for many, many years. I am friends with a large amount of members of the tobacco trade.
Also the chairman of First Capital Bank. Would you know if they do any business with Boost?
As far as I'm aware, they don't. I cannot be held to that, but I'm sure that they don't.
My last supplementary, you said that with your many, many years of experience, you are friends with many in the tobacco industry, especially with the merchants and emerging companies. Can you say the same for the indigenously owned merchants? I'm talking of those that are owned like your Wholesale and others. Do you afford them the same way wavelength of friendship as you do to the others?
I can say very clearly, yes. I spend time with all these companies. I am closer to some than to others. Stanley Mutefa is a good friend. We worked together for many years. He owns Shasha Tobacco, as I mentioned already before, David Machingiezi. The Futsal guys, I see a lot of them at various functions. I can't say every single tobacco company I'm friends with people, but I have a wide circle of friends in the company, both indigenous and non-indigenous.
Mr. David, it's a general observation that prices paid for some grade of tobacco to surrogate farmers are lower than the price paid to parent company farmers. What's your comment on
that? Thank you, Honourable Chair. I think we may have touched on this a little bit earlier. It's always a debatable issue. Tobacco.
Kindly explain.
Well, again, I ask the Honourable Chair if that is part of a court case that's going on, so I don't know if we're at liberty to discuss that.
Well, if it is part of the court case, I think we can.
Yes, we just had a check with the registrar, whereby we discovered that there is a 25% shareholding. That is at the time of the loan approval by the minister. Is that the correct position, or you still regard it as a court case?
I know the answer to the question, Honourable Chair. If I'm allowed to give that answer, I will give it.
Yes, you can proceed.
Yes, I thought maybe more than 25%. Maybe it's the minister and his son.
Honourable Chair.
Yes.
New question.
Is to audit those extras. There is a small amount of legal transfer pricing which is designed to cover external marketing costs, etc., etc. We have not come across any illegal transfer pricing, but we spend a lot of time checking on this. And I was even talking to one of our guys the other day, and I said, please do random checks.
Supplementary. Very Honourable Chair, we did a touring of some of these tobacco companies earlier last year. And the tobacco industry, I'm assuming it's 75-25 in terms of local currency payment to the farmers. Can you just confirm that before I continue?
Well, that was last year. This year it's 70-30.
70-30. However, there were some companies that claimed that because their head offices are outside of Zimbabwe and they received a loan, they required 100%, if I'm not mistaken, and they got that privilege of circumventing the 70-30, which then also put a disadvantage to the other indigenously owned tobacco companies. Can you comment on that and the protection of those who are following the 70-30?
Through you, Honourable Chair, I'm not sure I was aware of that. I know that the 70-30 or the 70-25 last year and previous years, they still have local costs, and most of that, the 25 or now 30 is used for local costs. I did not, there may have been certain instances, certainly in terms of foreign loans, because if they bring the foreign money in, they have to send it out. So there may have been some kind of accommodation on foreign loans.
Thank you, Mr. But the board gives direction to how the organization operates, especially the management committees. I'm really worried in terms of you not having information of how TIMB is operating. Because my understanding, I stand corrected though, is that the TIMB board is a group of people who will be giving policy and direction. to how the management operates. Now, from you, it seems like you are out of touch, or you are not aware of how the management is operating. How does that happen? Is it that you don't get that, or there's a way which you operate at TIMB, which is different from the normal way of how a group operates? By the way, we have also been in boards at some point, even though we are members of parliament. Thank you.
Honourable Chair, as a board, our job is to review the strategy as developed by management and change or not change it as we see fit. We are there to set policy, which we do. We have a huge raft of different policies. There are things that happen at the start of every season, such as the 75-25 becoming 70-30. We know these. Otherwise, detailed issues of management are generally left to management.
The contractors outside there. Those schemes, we hear that contract schemes are locking up farmers in never-ending cycles of debt through uneconomic pricing. Are you monitoring those input prices or regulating input prices charged to the farmers by contractors? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, yes, we have done a lot of work on looking at cost of production and ensuring that as far as possible, growers are profitable. Obviously, there are agricultural practices, agronomic practices, etc., that come into play. But, you know, as TIMB, we always say we have three key roles. The first role is as the regulator, which is our most important role. The second is one of viability, where our role is to ensure as far as possible that everyone is viable. And the third, which is assuming more and more importance, is that of sustainability, because as you know, there is huge issues targeting us as a producer of tobacco, about cutting of indigenous forests, etc., etc.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Maybe it's a very pertinent question, because you'd find some farmers will be charged by their contractors something like $60 for a bag of AN, which is almost twice the price. That's ridiculous. Have you, maybe just to elaborate on some of the measures you've taken to reprimand such contractors, and if you've got examples, that would be very helpful, to say last year we did this to reprimand this situation that came to our attention.
Thanks, Honourable Chair. I can definitely get that information from management. The tests we did over the last couple of years on cost of production took account of that. We worked very closely with Wangi, making sure that the coal price was correct. And yes, there are incidents where people are charging $60 for fertilizer. It's quite a difficult thing, because that contractor will say, well, yes, I might charge $60 for fertilizer, but I charge a lower price for something else. So it's the overall package that they will be talking about.
Again, on the issue of the CEO, I think as a board, there is need for you to actually proceed in a proper way, or in a corporate governance, in a proper corporate governance. So I was just wondering, what are you doing from now, considering that the 6 months has elapsed, the CEO is still acting for 2.5 years, and my understanding is that you are also proceeding with interviews, yet you have someone who is overstayed. May you actually tell us, or the type of action you proceed with from now on?
Thanks, Honourable Chair. We have to go according to the system that is provided for by the Corporate Governance Unit. We are doing that. We are doing exactly as we are told. We are also really keen to get a substantive CEO in place.
Thank you very much, Chair. We are really working in a very difficult situation as a board. Whilst we understand and appreciate the dictates of good corporate governance, we also have got a principle above us, someone who put us in place, somebody who nominated us to sit on the board. As we are currently talking, we have got an instruction or a letter that originated from the principal's office, who is the minister, to say embark on a recruitment process to fill in the post of the CEO. And as a board, I think we can't overlook that instruction. And this is the instruction that we are obliging to as we speak now. But we thought you as a committee who was with oversight of our industry, you could also be of immense assistance in solving this issue of the CEO. Why am I saying that? I thought one of the members was going to highlight that there's a lot of toxicity at TIMB. The situation is not as rosy as some of you would want to. There's a lot of problems there. Some of the issues that are being raised here and so forth are as a result of the absence of a substantive CEO. Yes. If we have a substantive CEO tomorrow, some of these problems will fall away. So we are also handicapped as your board. We need your assistance to help us to make sure that we put proper structures, we put ideal candidates in the post to help us. So the industry is thriving, but there is toxicity. There are a lot of interference, not only within management itself or among us probably ourselves, but externally. We can feel external pressures. There's a lot of vested interest in TIMB. Politicians, business people, traders, the ordinary people want to know what is happening in TIMB. And if we don't resolve this issue of the CEO quickly, the elephant in the room will always remain there. I submit here.
Thank you very much.
Person is the chairman of the HR committee. It's the most recent one, where we directed to the court. But the previous communications have been saying, no, don't recruit, don't allow those who have participated before to reapply and so forth. It was never documented, as far as my memory serves me.
How was this communication? How is it brought to TIMB? Was it sent through the board chairman, or who does the ministry communicate with normally? Besides written communication, this is verbal. Does the minister, permanent secretary, or who else just pick a phone and say, hey, David, do this?
Honourable Chair, I'm quite often called to the Minister's office to discuss various issues, and he will at those meetings say, okay, please do this, please do that.
Do you have even some sort of minutes of your meetings with the minister, or it's on personal relations?
No, there are always other people in the room. I very often attend with the chief executive. Sometimes the Perm Sec is there. Sometimes the deputy minister is there. It depends. I don't think we ever meet just two of us in the office.
Something back to my question, I think that's the reason why initially, Mr. Chairman, I was talking about the issues of board role. I was not trying to make you seem like you're not doing your job, but I was really worried because the way you are taking things casual, because we expect the board to be communicating with the parent ministry through official channels. How then do you make decisions based on your verbal, your casual way of doing things? That's why I was really worried when I was asking that question concerning the Corporate Governance Act. Maybe just as a follow-up, when did you start being a chairperson of TIMB, and what communication have you done from that day to date in terms of this CEO issue, in terms of official information?
Thanks, Honourable Chair. There's a large file of written correspondence between myself and the Minister.
In your personal capacity as the chairperson of the board, or in your personal capacity as deputy?
In my capacity as chairman of the board, Honourable Chair.
I think what we can ask you to do, Mr. Levy, is to bring us that information of all those communications, even if it means that there was no written letter from the ministry. If you had a meeting with him and then he said, please can you give us a brief of what has been going on? Because we believe that the board got the right to run the company, and the ministry stands on the policy direction. But it looks as if the ministry is also running TIMB together with the board. The board is running TIMB, the ministry is also running the TIMB, which is very unfortunate. So we need to differentiate the duties of the ministry and the duties of the board. But from this communication we are having, conversation we are having, it seems as if everything is haphazard, especially on the TIMB board. We haven't seen this from other boards, but we are only seeing now that TIMB board is being seated on. It is being directed what to do and what not to do, who to employ and who not to employ. It's a bit unfortunate that this is what is happening.
Has there ever been a scenario where, as a result of your meeting, there was personal gain that came out of that or any of those meetings? And I would also like to highlight the loan facility. Did it come out as a result of that meeting per se? I'm not going into the details of the case. I'm just saying that the initiation of that facility, did it come out as a result of one such engagement and others?
Thanks, Honourable Chair. There were two questions here. Number one, definitely no personal gain. And number two, definitely not as a result of a personal meeting.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I just wanted to know for interest sake, whenever you meet the minister, you are the one who actually comes to the board and report. Is that so?
That is correct. Official channels, the way it works is if the minister wants to communicate with TIMB, he does it through the chairman.
Yes.
That again is according to the rules of the Corporate Governance Unit.
When you meet the minister, do you have some minutes that you could go and discuss that with your board and come to agreement on issues? Or is it just a direct